some reason my whole life I've been competitive. If it was ballroom dancing or whatever it is, if I get into it, I got in and I wanted to compete in it. And I remember back, back in the, in the 60s when I first started hearing about off-road racing, that I really wanted to get into this thing called off-road racing because it seemed like such an adventure. It was more than, to me, it was much more than a race. It was an adventure. And that's what really got me attracted to, some way I had to figure out how I was going to do this Baja 500, Baja racing, because to me, I'd done racing in the past, but a real adventure to me was doing a Baja race, because you ran night and day, and you had all these elements, the fog and the dust, and all these fantastic drivers. Parnelli Jones was doing this, and he had been my hero for years, and still is. But anyway, I had to figure out a way to do that, and the evolution of how it happened is, for me, is. I didn't have the money to build race cars. I had a family and 3 kids to raise and mortgage payments. And a buddy of mine came to me one day and says, "Ivan, I want to build an off-road race buggy. You want to help me work on it? Then I'll let you ride with me." And I thought, well, this is not going to be good. I don't like riding with anybody. But anyway, that's how it worked out, and that's kind of what got me started. And the only way I got to drive the thing is when he fell off a ladder in 1973 before the start of the Baja 300, and he calls me and says, "Ivan, I'm at the hospital. You're going to have to start the Baja 300." And that was my introduction to actually driving race cars and off-road. During the race, about the first 10 miles, I rolled the car into a ditch. But I wanted to drive so bad. I had such a passion to drive race cars and off-road race cars. I ran back and got some spectators to come back and help me get it back on the road. And then another before the first lap even, the throttle cable broke. So my co-driver and I figured out that we could take a crescent wrench and run it from my hand back to the throttle. So now I could give it throttle, right? I'd already rolled the car and everybody had gone, and we were running last. We were the very last car. I could give it throttle and I could steer it. No power steering, by the way. And Earl, the guy riding with me, could shift it. But you talk about trying to get that coordinated, pushing the throttle and then pushing the clutch and then pushing the brake and him shifting gears. Make a long story short, we got better and better at it. Pretty soon we're catching guys, and we won that race. That was like, this was really cool. So then he let me drive the next one, and I think we did pretty good in that one. And then I went to the 500, and then I drove all of that one, and pretty soon I'm driving race cars. I started building this recognition with driving and winning races, and we won the championship. But it was funny because Bill Rinko would always sign up as the driver of record, right? So he always got the points for the points championship. And he would always tell me, he says, "Ivan," he says, "I'm going to start the race. I'm going to go halfway through, and then you drive." But before the race, he would get nervous, and everything switched around. He said, "Ivan, you start." Okay, I'll start. And then we were doing really well, and he said, "Well, just keep on driving." So in I think it was 1974, Bill Rinko won the driver's championship and never drove an inch. I drove every race and every mile, and he got up on the stage and he got the. But what happened, what was good though, was that people in the industry and off-road racing knew that I drove. So then I got an offer to drive a single-seat vehicle, and that was with a company called Modern Motors, and that's when the Ironman Trophy came out, and then I started winning the Ironman Trophy, and then pretty soon I was the Ironman, and things started just materializing from there.
Toyota. Let's go places.